What's up, guys? It's Brandon Flash. Today you're joining me for a tour of some of Tesla's new version 4 post superchargers around the Charlotte, North Carolina area. We're starting at the Charlotte Panera Drive supercharger. I'm going to give you a full site tour of each one of these. I know you guys love these EV site tour videos, so here you go with another one. So as I mentioned, we're going to be visiting some of Tesla's new version 4 post or version 3.5 sites around the Charlotte, North Carolina metro. There are actually 3. 2 of them are open. One of them is actually a temporary closure, even though it was open, which is weird. So we'll see what's going on there. And then there's one that's just waiting on power, but that one's an expansion of an existing V3 site. So I'll give you guys a full site tour of each one. We're starting here at the Panera Drive one. This is an excellent location right at a Starbucks near Concord Mills Mall. There's a Circle K right there if you want something 24/7, or at least long hours. I don't know if that one in particular is 24/7, but really good location here. And let me give you guys a full tour. We'll start at the upstream infrastructure, as I always do. We'll start at the transformer, work through the distribution cabinet to the supercharger cabinets themselves, and then out to the posts. And I'll call out anything that I see that's weird, abnormal, cool, you name it. So let's get started. So as I mentioned, this is a really good location. You're kind of off of a main road, which can be a bit busy, so that can be a little bit annoying. There's a Starbucks that just opened, brand new. You've got probably some office space, I would guess that's going to be, or some sort of other, maybe retail, who knows, but really nice location here. I was mistaken, that's not a Circle K, but it's just a gas station with a Pizza Hut. So I would imagine pretty long hours, so that's going to be good if you're here kind of late at night, since Starbucks has pretty good hours, but they're not open super late. So middle of the night, Starbucks won't be an option, but the gas station may be. Here we have a 1500 kVA utility transformer. And it's really quite interesting what we're seeing here, because there is a do not operate tag on this transformer and the site is open, which is a little bit concerning. I'm not going to show you guys the technician info on here just for sake of Duke technicians not getting called. But here we have a do not operate tag, and it looks like there's some sort of issue with the grounding, which is a little bit concerning that Tesla is operating this site anyway. Maybe Tesla has already coordinated with Duke Energy, that's the utility here, and they just haven't removed it yet. Hopefully that's the case, but if they're operating it with the do not operate tag on it, and that hasn't been otherwise arranged, that's a bit concerning. This is a 1500 kVA transformer, which is actually oversized for this site. You of course have the utility metering here that's attached to the transformer. There are then CTs that go onto the bus bars of the secondary side of the transformer. So basically on this side you have the high voltage, so the 14.4 kV coming in. It's then going through the transformer itself. And then on this side, you have the secondary lugs, and then that's where all of the wires that go from here over to this. So this is your distribution cabinet. So this has AC power in it, 1600 amps, and then, yeah, 480, 277, as every supercharger site is. So this has a 1600 amp main circuit breaker, so that's going to be up here-ish. And then you'll have 3 600 amp branch circuits. So each supercharger cabinet gets 600 amps. So probably here, roughly. And then from there, we're going out to the supercharger cabinets themselves. So each one of these is rated for 387 kVA, or roughly 360 kilowatts. And each one of these can distribute power out to 4 different supercharger posts, as Tesla calls them, or dispenser, as many other manufacturers call them. And I looked at the serial numbers, or not the serial numbers, the part numbers on these, and they are the exact same as the supercharger cabinets that were at the main Rockland site that we visited recently. So same as you'd expect. We'll also look at the cabinet part numbers on the other sites we'll visit today, just to see if Tesla's doing anything there as far as change. And something that's really special about Tesla's version 3 or version 4 architecture is that they do a DC bus between these cabinets. So between each one of these cabinets, there's actually DC power that connects them. And then rather than having that this cabinet can only supply power to 4 posts, which actually is correct, but only with the 360 that this is converting from AC to DC, this can actually pull DC from this cabinet or that cabinet or push it from there to there, you name it. So that way, if people park 4 stalls next to each other that are all connected to the same cabinet, they're not limited to just 90 kilowatts each, unless the site is full, but that's a different story. But basically, you have a pool of power here, roughly, I don't know, a little over 1,000 kilowatts, and then it can be distributed really smartly out to those 12 stalls. So that's something that Tesla does really well, and I've still yet to see anyone else quite match that capability. But basically, Tesla is going AC, AC, AC to DC, DC to link, and then it's going DC to DC to actually get out to the posts. So Tesla has some pretty unique architecture there. It works really well. I do wish they would have more power on a site level, but that's a different topic. And then we get out to the posts themselves. So these are nothing too special if you've watched one of my version 4 tours before, but we have the version 4 post. What's interesting is that these do not have credit card readers at all. There's just a blockout plate or completely different panel there. And then these do have Magic Docks installed. However, they're not active. So if you haven't watched Tom Malogny's video on this, he talked a little bit about this, and this may be related to the recall that Ford just did on the NACS to CCS adapters. So we'll see what happens there if they start enabling them. Tesla did post a comment basically saying, well, the industry is moving to NACS, so we don't need it, but why would you not enable it if it's on your equipment? That just seems like a waste to me, but that's whatever. Something I've noticed on these version 4 posts is that the contractors are not taking off the protective film, and then they're sitting in the sun, and then it kind of just bakes onto these handles, and it just kind of looks like crap. So Tesla, have your contractors take those off earlier so that it doesn't look like this. Yeah, they all look like that. No credit card readers at all. Here you can see a really well done ADA stall. So you have your access aisle here, and then you have your full access area, clear floor space all around it. And then you also have a connection to the sidewalk, which is pretty nice. I don't know where you'd really walk with this sidewalk, but it's still good to have it. And then also really well done signage for this ADA stall. They're not using the statutory signage, but that means that someone can actually use this if they're a non-ADA driver. They're just using it as a use last kind of designation, but technically nothing is stopping you from using this whenever you want, if you want to. So looks like they have this pad here probably intended for a trash can. Looks like there was maybe one attached at some point and then it was removed, which is a little bit strange. But good to see that. And here you can see the site is already pretty well utilized. The site has been open, I think, about a week. And yeah. So this site is really well done. Let me show you some pricing information. So we're in my car now. So this site is 34 cents per kilowatt hour for Tesla drivers. And I looked it up. It is 42 cents per kilowatt hour for non-Tesla drivers. Looks like it has a pretty interesting kind of mid-morning peak and then kind of an evening peak, so not much during the day, which is a little bit interesting. But this is a good site if this is along your route. So next up, we're going to be going to the North Lake Center Parkway Supercharger. This is an existing version 3 site, but it has 12 new stalls going in for an expansion with version 4 posts. So those are not live yet, but we'll check it out. And you can see this is a really well utilized site. And this actually peaks at 61 cents per kilowatt hour for non-Tesla use. So let's get over there. Then we'll give you a full site tour of both the existing version 3 and the new version 4. And then we'll continue on to this new South Tryon Street, which has a temporary closure, which is very strange, and see what's going on there. We have made it to the North Lake Center Parkway Supercharger. As I mentioned, this is an existing version 3 site with 12 stalls, but we have an expansion with version 4 posts. Here's the pricing for Tesla drivers. It is actually $38.61 53 and 38, if I remember correctly, for non-Tesla drivers. I know it's a peak of 61, but tricky to remember all four of those and their correlation. But we are here. Let's take a look. So this site has all of the precast pads, as you can see. And you see what we're waiting on up there. It looks like we might be waiting for the final connection. Let's take a look. So here you can see the existing version 3 site. We've got a Cybertruck charging there on the core wheels, a bunch of Model 3s and Model Ys, and an old Model S right there. But here we have the new stuff. So we've got the primary run coming on up there. It looks like we are missing the final connection, as you can see there. You can just see the insulator. There's nothing connecting those two. Sorry if that is terrible camera work. That Cybertruck appears to be wrapped. Interesting. So you've got the primary run coming down here once that's finally connected down the pole. And then we have the 1500 kVA transformer. Looks like they've marked connected load here, 919 out of 1500. I think that is what they're indicating there. We've got a bunch of Duke Energy flags on it, which seems a little silly to put them on the transformer itself, but whatever. Maybe they put those for when they ship the transformer itself. We do not have a meter yet on the transformer, so the meter would be here as we saw at the last site we were at. This is again a 1500 kVA transformer. There's a phone ringing, which is super weird. Huh. Anyway, so this is the 1500 kVA transformer. We have, again, another 1600 amp switchgear or switchboard. So main and then 3 600 amp distribution circuits. Interesting that there's a higher maximum available fault current here, probably due to closer proximity to the transformer slightly. I don't know. Interesting. And then over here, so I looked at the part numbers for these cabinets, and they are actually different than the last site, which is really interesting. These might be the new supercharger cabinets that they can boost to do even higher output, potentially. But you'll notice the part number here is different. So the first bit is the same, so the 1450758. But the previous site we were at was 00-H. And this one is 50-A. So I would read that as it's a new variant of the cabinet, and then that would be the variant, and then that's the revision number typically in part number nomenclature, if you will. So we have 3 of these, of course, for a 12 stall site. And then coming over here, this is again another well done ADA stall. We have 2 trash cans, or 1 trash can, 1 recycle bin. So these ones also do not have payment terminals, but they only have one of the instruction QR codes here. I also find it strange that they would put a printed QR code. Printed QR codes have really poor security, so that's generally not considered a good practice to use them. You could do them on a screen or dynamic or something, but generally printed QR codes are not recommended for security reasons because anyone could just stick another QR code on top of that. Here you can see they did the precast foundation for the dispenser post itself, and then did cast in place concrete around it for the access area. We have the access aisle here, and then just the ADA stall. This one is missing the second sign. Maybe they'll add that at some point, but otherwise this sign is fine as well. And then we have 12 posts. So this is a weird site design, in my opinion, that they did one stall like that. But as far as I can tell, the reason they did that is because of this drain here. So that would be the reason that they did it kind of in the middle of the stall. They could not put a post right there just due to that drain. But really well done what they've done with the rocks, just kind of cleaning that up without having to do more concrete than necessary. And this site, again, is not live yet because there is not actually powered. So we've got the version 3 over here. And this is nothing special. It does have the little stubby cabinet. And it's the version 3 everyone knows and loves. That's interesting. This person has like a cell booster on their Model Y. Kind of cool. And no magic dock or anything like that, just run-of-the-mill version 3. And another thing that's kind of cool about this site is that there's actually a Rivian Adventure Network installation right over there. So I'm gonna walk over there. I'll give you guys a quick little overview. I do actually have a deep dive on the different site architectures. So if you're really interested in this Rivian site and how it's built, definitely check out that video. And it also compares all the different site architectures of kind of the typical operators. So we're now over at the Rivian installation. We have a 1000 kVA Duke utility transformer. We have our distribution cabinet here. So this is also a 1600 amp cabinet, but this actually has kind of 2 different sections. So this is your main. This has your charging cabinets. So this is 3 sections. You can see how they bolt together here, right there. And then this actually has a step-down transformer in it to take the 480, 277 and then step it down to 240 volt for the level 2s that they have here. They have 2 cabinets here. These are each 300 kilowatts and can feed up to 3 dispensers, which they are here. And then here they have a provision for a 3rd cabinet. It's really kind of janky that they just have it covered with a piece of plywood. That really should have been covered in a nicer manner, but whatever, they'll figure that out eventually. Looks like they have some markings. Maybe they're going to put in some lights or something. Who knows? So they have these level 2s. It really is not a good look that they don't have cable management on them and the cables are just kind of strewn about. Also, handicap parking only in this EV stall seems a bit silly. But I guess they do have, no, they only have 2 stalls for these level 2s. So they really should have had that used last versus only. And then here you can see these are free. And actually, wow, they're actually 18 cents a kilowatt hour now. I did not realize that these existed as paid. They're 5.8 kilowatt. And same here, so 18 cents a kilowatt hour. And these are open to everyone. So I wish they would have these open to everyone also. That would be good capacity at this site. Also silly that they don't have cable management. They clearly have the provision for it on both of these that they really should have, so that way the cable isn't just draping on the ground, because clearly people are not putting them back draped on top of the unit. So something needs to be done. And here we have the posts for the actual Rivian Adventure Network. 36 cents per kilowatt hour up to 300 kilowatts, 50 cent per minute idle time after 10 minutes. And then these are only for Rivian vehicles. And then here you have the Huber and Sooner cables. You have the cable gland there. And the lights look really wonky on camera, but they're just a nice white in reality. I don't know why Rivian does their lights like that, but these are overall pretty nice looking. They're really not that accessible as far as like ADA accessibility. I guess you could argue that you could reach back. I'd have to measure what the reach distance is here and then grab this and plug in your Rivian, but really not ideal. So there we have the Rivian Adventure Network site at the same location. We've got REI there, and we're gonna walk back to the car and then head to the South Tryon Street version 4. And something I want to talk about as we're walking back. So even though that all these sites have version 4 posts, none of these sites are truly version 4. None of them can do 1000 volt output. They're still limited to 500 volts. And that's really a shame. So the posts are currently overbuilt for the cabinets. Hopefully Tesla has new cabinets coming soon and they can be an easy retrofit, but most of these sites are not designed for higher power. So they're gonna still be limited to the same amount of site power, same amount of power per cabinet, which is really kind of silly that Tesla's not looking at the future and future-proofing these sites in a more holistic manner than just putting in new posts that look nicer and have longer cables, but rather they should be actually installing additional capacity at these sites and really working to make these sites feasible for the next 10 plus years. And we've arrived at our final stop for today's video, the Charlotte South Tryon Street Supercharger. Fortunately, it's showing a temporary closure. We've just arrived. I'm going to plug in, see what happens, see if they actually do work. This one's at a Lowe's Home Improvement. So let's just see. First of all, does it open the charge port? Doesn't appear so. So let's try this. And looks like this sight is in fact actually off, which is surprising to see. But anyway, let's do a site tour anyway. The site was on, so it is operational-ish, I guess. Little strange that they would shut it down, but who knows. Let's start over at the transformer. Those of you that have been watching this channel for a while, you've seen a couple tidbits of this site over time. It's taken Tesla quite a while to build and get this site operational, like months, which is pretty unusual for Tesla. Last time I was here, they didn't have asphalt around the transformer, so nice to see that they finished that. So here we have a 1500 kVA transformer, same as the other sites. We've got our meter here, so we do have power at the site. And then let's go over to the units themselves. So we've got the power run here from the transformer. And we're pretty close to the airport, so you might hear some airplanes flying overhead. And this is a 16 stall site. So this is a pretty big one. And here, instead of the 1600 amp panel that we've had at the other sites, we have a 2000 amp panel. So same size, same footprint, everything, but this one is a 2000 amp. So 2000 amp main, and then you have 4 600 amp branch circuits. Nice big pad for the distribution cabinet, and then out to the actual charging cabinets themselves. And this is the same part number that the first site we were at, so the Panero Drive one had, but different than our last site that we were at up at North Lake. So this is a pretty old cabinet, built in February of 2023, so nearing 2 years old, which is kind of crazy that they're still using cabinets that they built that long ago, especially for these new version 4 posts. Let's just look at all of them. The same thing. Same thing. This one is the Star Center, so that's where all the DC links come together. And again, same thing. So Tesla is using some pretty old cabinets here. And here we have all the posts. So this is a pretty interesting site design as well. They split out those two due to that light post, so a little bit weird. And then we have some grade stuff going on here. So here, these ones are pretty flat. They're pretty much at the same grade as the lot. And then coming down here, so I have heard some rumblings that Tesla has a method for field modification to the supercharger post in order to meet ADA. And I'm not sure if that's what they did here, or if they literally just put the entire thing in the ground and then put asphalt around it. But either way, it's a little bit strange to see two posts both at parking lot grade at different heights. And you can actually see the height difference there. So there versus there at the bottom for this ADA stall. So I don't know why Tesla, when they developed these new version 4 posts, that they didn't just make everything a little bit lower, because that just seems like it would have been a much easier method than trying to keep everything high for no reason. Here you can see again. So there's basically just asphalt poured around it, whereas that one you can see the bottom of it. So very strange that they wouldn't have had US ADA as one of the main design criteria when developing the version 4 post, but maybe it was developed in Europe and they didn't really know about that. That's entirely possible. But here we have the third new version 4 post site in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to hear what you guys think of these version 4 posts, if you've used them, what your experience is with them. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.